A very good evening to all of you, and welcome to this week's first edition of the Evening Review. My name is Desmond Amunyela, your host. Let's have a look at today's front page of Namibian Sun. Tonight in the studio, I am joined by a man who does not really like to be in the media. But for some reason today I managed to convince him to come to the studio, and his name is Desmond Amunyela. He's a local entrepreneur, business owner and employer of so many people. Welcome to the show, Des.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was not wrong to say that you are never in the spotlight.
No,
you don't appear in the papers. What's wrong? What's the issue?
Because
for someone who's doing a great job,
there's no need for me to be in the papers. Yeah, so obviously then I'm not doing a good enough job to get the attention of your kind. So that's probably why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm good without being in it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you've been in. Only by force when we hear people not having very kind things to say, about your businesses, about your whatever. But at least for today, that is not the purpose. Tell me how business is doing in this climate, economic climate.
It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough. Like this is probably the common story with every other businessman you come across.
Yeah.
But under the circumstances, we are doing the best we can to pull through. We come from the streets. Yeah. That's where we are molded. So that experience comes in handy now.
Indeed.
We are trying to turn every challenge into an opportunity. So yeah, but it's tough. It's not like it was before.
I can imagine. Yeah. Just for my viewers, I need to remind you that Desmond Amunyela is co-founder of Paragon Investment. It's a holding company with so many other portfolios in the fishing, property, and other activities. You spoke about how the streets have helped you become the man that you are, and you seeing some of those lessons from the streets to help keep your head afloat. Tell us a little bit about your past, maybe in that context.
My past is it's a very colorful past. So when you say tell us a little bit, you have to be more specific.
So that others can also learn what is it that you can learn from the street.
When you say my past, you mean in business or in general?
Yeah, no, I mean to say, maybe your humble beginnings, how you raised to the pinnacles where you are today.
In terms of business?
Yes.
Geez, it's a long story, man. We need more than the time you allocated to me.
Yeah.
My past was not much different than the average guy from Mondesa or Katutura. Perhaps the only difference is that I was fortunate enough to be raised by an entrepreneur. Yeah. The gentleman who raised me, an uncle, was like a father. He was a businessman. He was one of those few that was licensed in Mondesa back then to conduct business. So business has been a part of me all my life. I don't know how not to be business-like or taking something for $1, you know, spin it around for $5.
Yes.
That is just how I know. So it may be a bit difficult for for me to make the guy who does not understand that to understand what it means to grow up in a business environment, because I don't know any other life.
Yeah, indeed. Now the business climate is like you said, is very, very difficult, probably at its historic difficult. Of course, because of the environment globally and locally, but in your case,
yeah,
there are people who would say, a couple of weeks ago we wrote, what was it that we wrote in the paper, and someone sort of confronted me over it. We called someone a swapper businessman.
Yeah,
I can't remember who it was. And someone said, oh yeah, we called John Walenga a swapper businessman.
Great friend of mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and when someone texted me the next morning and was confronting me about what makes a person a swapper businessman, then I said, look, these are people who are very close to power. Whether by default or design doesn't really matter, but whose businesses may be perceived to have also thrived on the basis of that proximity to power. In your case, you are not in any formal party structures of swapper, but I know that you are a proper swapper man.
No, let me correct you there. I am.
Yes.
I'm the treasurer of Windhoek East District.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
elected,
of course.
Yeah.
Does it has your proximity to power? I know you are very close, or you are very close to President Hage Geingob, for example. Has it helped your business in some ways to thrive?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Because if you look at my business to start with,
yeah,
I'm probably one of those few Namibian business people I know whose business does not depend directly on government. And I'll try and explain that. There's a buzzword these days. We call each other, or we call others, entrepreneurs, and there's a negative connotation to it, almost implying that you don't deserve what you have, or you didn't earn what you have. So, be that as it may, the difference here is that my business model, anything or everything I have that connects to government, is the sort of thing that government would say, man, Namibia, I have this open space here.
Yeah.
There gotta be something somebody can do to make us money. Give me a business plan. So then I will apply my knowledge and give you a business case from which you make money. I don't remember chasing an opportunity, the request for, they call them tenders, but actually request for a price.
Yes.
And you know all these other things that comes with it, inflating prices and all of this, because the guys involved are all the same, and there's something to share at the end of it. So that's the difference. So I don't then understand how, knowing that, how being close to anybody in power would advance my business. And you must always understand this. No leader or a person up there wakes up one day and goes through the national registry and says, I'm looking for somebody to bring close to me. No. It's always about you. What is it that you mean to these people? In most cases, they get from our kind more than they give us. And a lot of people don't see that. Because these people have got their children, they have families. Why would they want to come after you? Why are you so special? So it's often
because
common interest.
Yeah.
You must have something that they want, and they must have something that they can offer. And at all material times, as a business person, you need to know why you have that closeness. Sometimes it can really just be about humanity, friendship.
Yes.
They are human beings, they can have friends.
Exactly.
Sometimes it can be to create a critical mass that is required to move something forward something which is of common good to either, like in this case, you say swap or business, this, that, maybe for the party that you both belong to. Because we all can't be in the same position. We all can't be the important politicians or businessmen. And there should be nothing wrong with that.
So when you and we'll move to the other topics, I just want to put closure to this particular one, that when you fly a presidential candidate, the country's presidential candidate, to a World Football match final in Brazil for an incoming president, there'll be, is it fair that some people would then want to know what is in it for you, for example?
See, you are now leading me into look, I don't want to dwell much into that. I mean, that's an old story, and it has gotten its fair share of media coverage. But you must understand one thing. The uncle is an uncle. He's not even a politician or a president or incoming president the way you see it. He just happened to be that. Now, when you ask that question, you must just step back a little bit to see how far we come. Before he was any of these things that you just described. Because often people, for convenience sake, they isolate that part, the fact that he was coming into office. But it's not just like I met him the day he was announced to be coming into the office and then I said, let's fly. No, we would have flown whether he had become that person you described or not. And you would probably not even have asked me this question today because it wouldn't have mattered. So I think that background is what is missing from this whole story. But you must also understand that we are responsible people, all of us. And it sometimes, I think it must say something about the person who think ill of others' intention. Because when you ask a question, there's a thought behind that question. What makes you ask that question? And only you can answer that. And often it starts with how you would have reacted to a situation like that. Before you ask that question. Because you have not seen any, something of a criminal nature being done for you to suspect that, oh no, these people are criminals, oh no, we have evidence that they do this. It's just wild imaginations, but they are informed by something within the person asking or making that allegation.
Fair enough. I needed to ask that question because we needed that context that you provided, because you don't appear in the media.
No, but
and so when you come here today, and we know we'll not see you again in a year's time, so we needed to clarify.
Yeah, but that's all. We're here for business.
No, I think it's a fair response. Now, politics, as you understand it, I mean, you are involved, you are holding that treasurer's position for commerce. Is politics a catalyst for business growth? What is it? How does politics, or how should politics be like in order for it to advance the general good of business?
Yeah, look, politics, unless you ask the question, politics in the context of leadership, because leaders are produced by a political system, and how that relates to the environment of business. Look, if you ask me, this is what I'm going to say. It must start with a leader understanding the responsibility of leadership. Do you get that? You must know why you are a leader and the responsibility of being a leader. Because if you don't understand that, forget everything else. Now, I think we are old enough to know what is good and what is bad in terms of leadership. We've been fortunate to have seen leaders come and go in the region and across the world. And a leader must love him or herself, because if you don't, it will be hard to, love somebody else who looks like you, because they will be reminding you them of you.
Yeah.
You get?
Yes.
And that's a problem, because if you don't love yourself enough, you can't love any other thing that looks like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that if you love yourself, it will pain you to see somebody, something that looks like you, living in the squalor conditions like we have them in the extended Mondesas and Katutura. Okay? Because our constitution, to start with, guarantees us a dignified life.
Yes.
And we shall do everything, all and sundry, to see to it that every one of us have a dignified life. Okay? Now, that, for me, that is my leader. And from there, because of those things, you will then be in a position to do everything that needs to be done to facilitate for everybody that lives in your whatever country or whatever you want to call it, to enjoy those things that are guaranteed by, amongst other, our supreme law. Because if you don't have that, then you will begin to have leaders misinterpreting the rule, or I mean not the rule, but the responsibility of leadership. That now they become greater than any other. That you should be grateful that you have a leader like me. You know, and that's the other way around. Because we surrender our sovereignty to this thing called leadership for the sake of order. Because all of us can now go be leaders, whether it's leadership in business or in government or in church. We all can be there. So there must be this somebody who embraces and who is responsible enough and understand comprehensively the needs of all and try their level best to see to it that we get enough of what we deserve.
Indeed. You in your career as a businessman, even currently in this difficult economic climate, you are providing a livelihood to so many people through employment.
Sure.
And you need to be in a particular kind of political environment for that purpose to thrive. In other words, what kind of political environment do you need as an entrepreneur to actually thrive and be able to help those that work for you?
Sure. Look, first of all, we need to believe in ourselves. We need to believe in ourselves, and as we believe in ourselves, we need to always be honest enough to give the chances, especially leadership chances or positions that makes a difference in other people's lives to our best. In other words, we must always compete with our best. So our best means, even if you don't like the person, even if that person does not belong to your political organization or orientation, for as long as they are Namibian and they have something better to offer, let's find a way to utilize those skills so that we can compete with our best. Because remember, we are not an island to ourselves. In as much as we talk SADC and integration and this and that, we compete squarely and fairly with all the others. What Namibia has in resources, you find it almost par excellence in Botswana, Zambia. Here and there may be a difference that they have more copper than we do, but we compete. So how then do you compete with others if you don't compete with your best? So we need to eliminate this thing of, I think the English people call it patronage. You are from my village. You are my friend. You are my political ally. That one this, that one this. Because at the end of the day, really, it's like cutting the branch of a tree you're on top of. If you leave me out and you know I have better than what you prefer. So competing with our best is important. So to answer your question, the political environment must be the one that seeks to achieve the best for everybody. We can still have our differences, but at least we have our differences sailing on yachts or flying in private jets, having enough for what we deserve and not that we have this Katutura and we have us here, and then we think, no, that's not my desirable political environment. It's sad if we don't hurry up and do something to change that, because it's a matter of time before these things explode. Yeah,
indeed. Are you a product of black economic empowerment?
I don't know. Well, black economic empowerment is, I think it's a policy, no? It's not a law. It's a policy in Namibia, or was, I don't even know. But obviously, there has been benefits that has accrued from that pronouncement. It may have been good, or it may be good for some, but not for all. But for example, me, I don't think it's of much effect, consequence to what I do, because of the self-belief in my abilities in this thing called business. There are greater challenges, systematic challenges, that we need to address if we really want to make a difference, even with that black empowerment thing, because it's almost like what's the word? A lip service, because it only allows you to run from a certain point to a certain point. Beyond that, it's a different animal. There are different systems and interest groups that keeps us where we are, and you will see, and I saw this in my growth in terms of business. You would start at a point, and as you start, you will have a lot of your kind embracing you, giving you credit and helping you up until you reach a certain level, and then you begin to encroach into their space, because they can't go any further. Above them, there's a ceiling, which we, as I would call the black system, has not managed to, to penetrate through. And those are the issues, I think, Namibia, if we want to really transform, we need to start, the debate about that and see how we can overcome. Because the greatest, I think, talent or opportunity lies above that for us in the context of black empowerment.
Do we still need 31 years after independence? Because people, of course, there's a justification that because blacks were in this bondage of poverty and exclusion, that BEE was necessary as an intervention at the time. And then now there's this movement that says, why don't we now look at the presently disadvantaged instead of the previously disadvantaged, because the likes of Desmond Amunyela have now, grown out of that space. They are successful now because, of course, they come from that previously disadvantaged as a general concept. But now to be specific, instead of being general, why don't we look at people that are now presently disadvantaged and help them going forward? Is BE still necessary?
Yes, it is necessary, because there's so many of us that needs to be transformed economically. Now, you are speaking to me today. I have been somehow transformed economically. I can compete, and I've proven it to myself. My business now operates in Zambia, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, without help from the system. The only help I got from the system is the empowerment to be able to be resourced enough to go and compete there. And I'm succeeding. So as I step away from where I was yesterday, the next Desmond must be assisted to get there. Now, remember, in my understanding, or the way I have seen it in practice, it's not much more than the ability to access public procurement. How much does that represent in terms of our economy? What impact does it do? The annual allocation that you allocate to government procurement of goods and services or capital projects. It's a small percentage from the size of the economy. Now, if we don't, once again, develop a strategy to be able to graduate many of us so that we can create space for those that qualifies for B to come through and follow us. Once we reach the ceiling, we'll come back there. And then I'll start to compete on what is it, security tenders and cleaning government buildings. And I'm much more resourced than a guy who's starting yesterday. Yes. And that's why you see this thing of name calling and self-hate. It's because we have turned this thing into almost like a black on black violence. You understand? Because there hasn't been sufficient effort to grow the capacity of the state in terms of what is it that the state can put back into its people. And the state needs to do that. Why? It's important to have rich or wealthy people because you can tax them. Yes. But it's a nightmare to just have a sea of poor people. You just have to give. And that can stretch to political stability or instability, depending on how well taken care of your society is. So the point is, the animal in the room, I mean the elephant in the room, is the economic system that we have. Whether adopted, I think not even adopted, was somehow forced upon us when the colleagues, the liberators, negotiated with the Bretton Woods institution right at the beginning and amongst others. We cannot, Joyce, go to the corner of Independence Avenue and Oseagutako every morning, 6, 7, you will see how we migrate to this side of town to come and give cheap labor. Because the economic system is such that it was designed to demand of us low skill, therefore low wages. Okay? But like I said, I operate in places like Tanzania, where you have much bigger economies, and they call them African economies, but they mean a lot for their people. Because people go where the money is, not the other way around. Yes. But in Namibia, we continue with that system. That system was designed back then. It remains the same. So, with all these black empowerment things you're talking about, for as long as we do not disrupt that system, so it begins to benefit us. I often have this argument with, or debate with many of you colleagues, that Zimbabwe is soon to be a successful nation for its people. Because they found a way to disrupt the economy for the benefit of its people. Now, yes, there are major disruptions there, and a lot of people would say this guy is crazy, but you go there today, the balance sheet of the indigenous Zimbabweans is much stronger than it was when it was economically orderly. Here, all we have is the ability to be able to access credit, and that credit allows you to keep your head just above the water, so you continue to feed. Look at how much capital flies out of Namibia on a daily basis. Look at these things called banks, insurance companies. How much money, how much profits are they shipping out? Why can't we pass a law that says all banks must be Namibian? Exactly. And even if it has a foreign player, there must be an element to say, okay, before, this COVID thing actually taught me something. Briefly, yes. Yeah, briefly. Remember when they said you must justify your movements, your movements must be connected to something essential. Let it be essential for the money to fly out of Namibia, whether it's through the profit of insurance companies or banks. Because a bank does not come to Namibia, a foreign bank does not come to Namibia to bring truckload of cash to start a bank. It's you and I's money.
Yes, I hear you.
But let me go to the bank now today with whatever idea I may have to develop Namibia. They will ask me questions from here to the north and back. Yeah, I will have to secure them threefold. Yeah. And then and I think there may even be, if you look at it, it may not be a deliberate discrimination, but if you look at the numbers, those that are previously disadvantaged, if you go to the banks and you look at their credit policies, they will say, okay, you can borrow Mr. Toivo in Jebela prime +2. Mr. Van der Somebody, oh, okay, we know the history of your family, prime minus. Now they are in minority.
Yeah, I think you've made your point. I think I've made your point.
Yeah, I'm a bit passionate
in the interest of time. No, Des, you must come back. You must definitely come back, because we haven't exhausted this subject very well, and it was just getting juicier. But in the interest of time, I have to stop you here.
Sure.
But thanks for coming.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's Desmond Amunyela. He's an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur, and he's just sharing bits and pieces of his journey. Thank you for watching.